All right, we move into our third session. This is also a panel discussion on the topic, what we do versus what do they want. In this session, we will deliberate on what leaders' expectations are and what the employees' view is when we talk about the future of work and the way forward. I'd like to request you to please give our speakers a big round of applause as I introduce them to you, and I request the speakers to please come up on stage as well. Our first speaker for the day is Lyvia Cardoza, Group Manager, Research and Analytics, WNS. She leads a team of business consultants and data scientists involved in projects on customer analytics. Joining her on stage is Trilochan Singh, IT practitioner, leads cross-functional teams with diverse technical backgrounds and designed budge controls. Joining them on the panel is also Sharath Gopalan Kashyap, Group Manager, HR, LTTS. Sharath worked across diversified industries like retail, real estate, and engineering R&D. The moderator for this session is Rohit Thakur. I'd like to invite him on stage. Please give him a big round of applause. I'd like to introduce him to you. Rohit Thakur, CHRO lead. Rohit has been leading the HR function for various organizations, and prior to his current role, Rohit was the CHRO for Paytm, where he led the strategic HR agenda for the company. Over to you, Rohit.
Thanks so much. I hope my mic is working. Yeah, it is. I think it's an interesting topic, and I think after hearing Uma, Harita, and Nitin talk about, I specifically wanted to sit in the session because I think it rolls into a lot of what we would say. It's about what companies do for employees and what employees really want. I think that's like a holy grail. And my going-in hypothesis, is that every leader, every organization wants to do the best, for their employees. But it's a journey. It's a journey that I think as a leader, as an organization, we've got to traverse to find out what is the right balance, what is it that really strikes a chord, with the employee. So what this panel hopefully will do today is to give you some insights into what employees really think. I picked a few themes, as I kick off the entire discussion on what we'll speak. I think, as you saw, we got a very diverse and a very experienced panel of panelists who will talk it mostly from an employee perspective, and hopefully for all the managers in this room and and to all employees as well who rate themselves more as employees. I think I would love this to be a interactive session. We will have time for Q&A. I would love your thoughts on what we say as well. The entire perspective is that we go back out there having some more crystallized thoughts of the investments we make, in our employees. As we start off, would really love to hear from each one of you on what was your aha moment when you when you got this topic of what do employees really think about what companies are giving to you. We'll start with you.
So I'm a people person in the traditional sense. So, I actually need to be in the same physical space as my colleagues, when I go to work. And when you actually work, when you go to office, it's not just the time that you spend with your colleagues, at work collaborating, but it's the mere presence of your colleagues around you that drive conversations beyond work. It leads to conversations which actually lead to innovations. And for me, this aha moment that you're talking about is that I find myself again in midst of, something that I missed while working from home. And now that, I believe that I took this for granted when I was working from office previously.
Yeah. Excellent. And that to your question about, employees, I think there are some people who are excited about coming to office, and I think, you one of them. I was telling them in the pandemic, I think of the 2 years of pandemic and maybe 4 months of lockdown, I was in office the balance, 18 months because I was just there. I was making friends with the chai wala, doodh wala, pantry wala, cigarette, because I just had this urge of going to office. It was getting to be so much of a groundhog day, being at home. So what you're saying is just the element about being back with familiar surroundings with your colleagues is inspiring for you. Excellent.
Yeah, so I just want to summarize in a single line. The aha moment for the topic is this: yes, back to office, we'll meet, we'll do handshake and do high five. It's been so long, we are disconnected and connected through a virtual world. So I love to be back to the office.
Awesome, awesome, yeah.
Thank you, Rohit.
I think your mic is off.
Thank you, Rohit. Morning, all. My aha moment, being HR for 15 years now, when I got this topic is, that unending debate, what they want and what we need, right? As an employee, as an HR, I can easily connect with this topic, and I can just simplify in this statement.
Excellent, thanks. Like I said, I've picked a few themes that we'll speak about, and like I said, it'll be great to get your perspectives on what you'd like to hear as well. One theme in the future of work that's drastically changed with the 2 years of remote working, and I think what's going to happen in the future as well with the man-machine collaboration and so on is going to be around the relationship between the employer and the employee. And I'll come to you first, Sharath, as a HR leader. You know, how have you tried to bridge the expectations, both in the past and what do you think in the future of this relationship, you know, between the employer and the employee, you know, as we go forward?
Sure. Yeah, Rohit. So, employee engagement definitely is looking at drastic transformation. Not only from past 2 years, probably slowly it's changing, and definitely it's going to change further. If you look the traditional way of the programs, what we used to do, and what we do now, the change is required because employees are looking for flexibility, empathy, and also how we are involving employees in designing those frameworks, right? It's not about just design, HR or management is designing something and we are going to implement it, but as an employee, can I be part of that initiative? I can give a few examples for it. We all know about top-down approach, the traditional all-hands meet or town hall, which is very much important, but can we have a bottom-up process as well? For example, we have in our organization something called YAB, Young Advisory Board, where a group of millennials, Gen Z employees have been formed into a group, and they connect with CXOs at regular intervals and do reverse mentoring. They share the ongoing trend, what is their expectation. That's one way of communicating with the leadership team. Probably I can talk about the involvement of family members, right? It's not only about engaging the employees, but we have gone beyond engaging the employees through their family members. It might be their children, they're celebrating their success or engaging them during summer camps. So that's some of the examples which I can quote about, right? So definitely we're looking at the transformation future.
Great. And Trilochan, as somebody who's really responsible for offshore employees, you know, both in India and internationally, you know, a lot of employees have joined over the last 2 years who've never met people in person and whom are referred to a story there in her experience as well. The psychological safety or psychological contract, which is so important between a manager or a team. Any learnings you had or any things you faced as an employee as well, both ways, about how the psychological safety has either been broken or been maintained?
Thanks, Rohit. So, like psychological contract it's nowhere written, right? So it is every person perform at their own level. Like the sense of feel within an employee, like I am going to be taken care by my organization. Like something happened, so my organization is there with me. So that feel like someone is caring for me. And second one is like their job is safe and secure. Okay, it is tough. Like initially when the COVID started, or initial 4 months, it was like everything is locked down and a lot of bad news was coming in, right? So to keep them engaged, to have their morale like go up, so that they should be engaged with the team, each and every member like work like as a buddy to each every one of us. So that is the one where it really helped the team. So another example is like any employee who's joined in past 2 years, like they don't know how the ecosystem of the company works. To know about that, like tag a buddy with the new joining, to know about like what the company culture is. Okay, more toward that. And the learning, engage them for the different type of learning or personal achievements. Okay, encourage them like towards like what the future goal is. Like we know like after this COVID, definitely we go back to office. So mentally they should be ready for it. Okay, and there should not be any resistance towards it, like, no, I don't want to come to office, right? And what it went well is like initially when it was, the people moved back, like the pandemic happened, people are running towards their native, right? So it was very, very tough for the people where there is no good network connectivity. So that is one of the challenges I think every one of us faced. Another one is like when we are on a virtual world, we connect with someone with one-to-one or one-to-many. It is easy to share the thoughts. But when it is many-to-many, it is very difficult and it takes too much time, right? So those kind of discussion, if it would have happened at the workplace, it is easy, could be short. You can stop the conversation, talk to someone, and again, the part of it, right? But in virtual mode, it is very tough. So that is one of the challenge I felt in past 2 years. Yeah, thanks.
And Lyvia, as an employee and a recently promoted manager as well, how have the changes in the ways of engagement impacted you? What's worked for you and what hasn't?
See, the changes in the way of working are evident, right? So the physical absence of employees at work make certain tasks very less engaging. For example, solutioning. Definitely, yes, there's an impact from the time perspective, but not from a brainstorming or a quality standpoint. On the contrary, the accessibility to individuals, be it in leadership or in any employee, has only meant better business opportunities for me and my team to look forward to, right? So now, being an employee who joined in the COVID scenario, I have always been able to give my 100% at work, and this is primarily because of the trust that is shown by me, by my managers on me. And this has the trickle-down effect, right? So now, as a new manager, I have to show that same trust, with my direct reports. And this is a new learning experience for me because I haven't met my direct reports yet, most of them. And in this hybrid model, it's a new learning experience for me. And personally, I believe you can show trust by empowering your employees. And how do you do that? Employees look for autonomy. Rightly pointed by, Mr. Amit in the first presentation, Mr. Amit from BCG. He said employees look for autonomy. So how do you do that? As a manager, you set your employees up for success. You talk to them, you have an open discussion with them and see what are the impediments, what are the challenges that are coming in the way of engagement. And then you bring in all the tools. You strive hard to bring all the tools that make them less dependent and more autonomous in taking decisions, right? So this is closely followed by empathy, like our ma'am from Sutherland, Mrs. Harika Gupta said, empathy. So this is closely followed by empathy. So empathy tends to be reactionary, but as a new manager, I've tried to be more proactive. Try and reach out to your employees on a regular basis. Try and see from their lens, from their life circumstances, from their perspectives, if there's something that's impacting work, and then maintain this on a regular basis. So this has gone a long way in building that trust and making this hybrid model more sustainable one. So I can say these are few of my learnings, from this employee-employer contract and the ways that it has changed. And if I have to point out the things that has not worked, yes, there are quite a bit of challenges that come in the ways of working. For example, hiring. Hiring is one. Because when you hire, you just don't look from a client or a project standpoint. You also have to look from a team dynamic standpoint. And when you hire in an online mode, you don't get to gauge from a personality or a soft skills perspective, right? And then coming to performance assessment, again quoted by Mr. Nitin from BCG. Are you measuring the hours or are you measuring the performance, right? This is quite a bit of challenge. And performance assessment is something between the employer and the employee. Although it's confidential, the impact of the output is something that is felt across the whole team. And there is a certain amount of effort that goes in ensuring that, the output, the assessment that is done is factually fair, especially when there are new members in the team and there is lack of team bonding, and then ensuring that this assessment is perceived to be fair across the entire team, and I perceive this to be a challenge.
Yeah, no, I think the entire performance thing always, if you look at a survey, performance always comes out as something that, is it fair, is it perceived to be fair, and it really takes in the perspective of employees.
So transparency adds to this.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. The other theme that I want to get into, the second theme is around careers and career expectation. Somebody here asked about how do you stop people from taking 2 jobs. And yes, there's a scientific question to it in terms of productivity that, like I would say Nitin gave. Another part is if the person is really excited about the growth, has enough work to kind of do and shape an organization, maybe the person doesn't have time to do a second job, right? So, and there is this entire thing about great resignations that have also happened, during the last few years. So, I'll start with you now, Lyvia. Has your career aspiration changed post the pandemic? What was it earlier, and what is it now?
Definitely, I would be lying if I say it hasn't changed, right? So before the pandemic, for all the networking that I did, my career objectives were within the goals of the company. So I was a team lead then. So my thought process was, yes, I'm a team lead now, and within the next 1 year, I need to be a manager. So my discussions with my manager, during the appraisals or during the goal-setting meetings would revolve around what do I need to do to get to that position, within that time frame. So, so basically, these kind of discussions would be counterproductive, retrospectively speaking, because they don't necessarily lead you into becoming an SME in, the subject that you really like or you want to expertise in, right? So post the pandemic, my focus changed, and with the context, I'm sure it's the case with many other employees as well. So it mostly revolved around role-based, not position-based, right? So I started talking to a lot of career counselors. I started talking to a lot of influential people in the industry and friends in the similar situations like me. And education came out as the key takeaway, and it is true even now, right? So keeping oneself updated, can never be stressed enough, especially right now, with the tech enablement of the workforce. So I took up a post-graduation in the subject that interested me, and that helped me get hired and also take up on challenging assignments at work and lead those engagements from a SME standpoint. So the gist being, employees now are more interested in role-based assignments, and they are more industry and future-oriented than they were ever before. So if you have to ask me how organizations can help here, to what I mentioned just now, to cater to this, I would see organizations opening up more employee, internship-like roles, internship equivalent roles for their internal employees, which are time-bound, right? Now, for example, I'm into retail analytics, but what if I want to get into banking analytics? So will there be such opportunities for me, right, within the organization? So this would not just help the employees, but it will also help the organization for better talent management, better management of their workforce to meet the future demand, right? So this is how my career aspirations have changed, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic.
Some very interesting points. I think what you're talking about is not just vertical movement and promotion, it's about knowledge expansion and organization giving the employee the opportunity to kind of become a strong knowledge worker. Trilochan, from your side, again with a team that's kind of spread out, what can organizations do? If you were the CEO of the company that you were in, what can organizations do to maximize the impact of the career aspirations of your team members?
Yeah. First thing is moving towards the learning platform, more competitive learning platform. Okay, we have seen the change in the way of video learning instead of the practical learning online, right? So those kind of platforms should be definitely going to be make a difference here right now. Another one is like the existing employees who are in the same role for long term, okay, and make them move to a different role, different team, so that they can learn better. If they stay in the same role for long term, right, it is like furniture at home. No one bother about them. So to make them feel like you should move on, the more you move from your current role, the more you learn, right? Another one is like the new people who join the organization, okay? Mentor them to be a part of the organization where you can get best out of them. And the last one I would say, like the existing employees who are already with you for quite a long term, right? And encourage them or mentor them with a time-bound manner, like a 3 month, 2 month, to move up to the ladder. Tag them with the senior, and then they can learn better, and then they can move on. Now, like when we come back to the office, okay, the personal connect is better as compared to virtual one, right? When you spend a half an hour with someone who's a better in industry, then you learn more. Right? Instead of one-to-many, it is like one-to-one, you can talk to the people there. So that is definitely going to change the way of learning or the aspiration for the team members, I would say. Yeah.
Great. Finally, Sharath, my question to you is, you've involved in shaping career strategies, for your organizations. As an employee, and looking at employees and yourself, what are the highest impact elements that an organization should introduce with your perspective to maximize people's potential?
Yeah, I think one point what Trilochan spoke about, internal job movement, especially IJP kind of thing, will definitely help us to retain associates because they would have got demotivated being in the same role for a long time. Apart from that, 3 areas which I personally feel it's always good is to align the employees and the role, right? At the time of hiring or at time of promoting them to a new role, if we align them, then a lot of issues will be resolved because sometimes we in a hurry of closing positions, we just place people there and later business will suffer. Even employees might quit. So alignment is one big mantra. Second one is assessment through third party, right? Due respect to people who do internal assessment, but if you do assessments to third party, right, there'll be unbiased view on any individual. And based on that report, organization can take decision on placing those individuals in any suitable position. Instead of assessing them for available positions from within the company, let us give it to outsiders to identify what is their potential, right? That is one. And the third one, I personally feel we should do is something like, can we give time off, right? Within the organization, there might be various vision to achieve a bigger goal, but this particular employee might be working in a different project altogether. Can we give a time off of certain percentage to the employee to work on the bigger goal, right? He might be interested in that. Instead of restricting his skill sets to the existing project, if we allow him to work on the larger vision, probably employee will also feel connected to the general vision of the company, the larger vision of the company, and also company will get benefited with the initiatives and innovativeness, right? So these are the 3-4 ideas I think which personally as an employee, not as an HR only, but as an employee, if we initiate, companies will definitely get benefited.
Thanks, thanks so much. I think you've got some perspectives again from an employee standpoint. I would love to hear any thoughts, comments, or questions for the panel that you have. We normally get a lot of perspective from leaders. What leaders are doing, what managers are doing, what companies are doing. These are people who are being the recipients of that. And I think what hopefully you've got a sense on a few themes right now about what they feel as peers, as employees in the organization. So it would be great if any of you have any thoughts, comments, or observations, or any challenges that you want to give to the panel. A mic. No, he's the only HR guy. He's business. So yeah. Is there a mic? Excuse me. No, they can't hear it. I'll give you a mic here.
why should the employees have to stay with your company? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Why should employees stay with the company? Yeah.
Yeah. See, what employee want is a job safety and security, right? So, and the learning also. So when someone starts their career, what they get a little bit of money as a pressure, okay, and they learn. So at that time, the graph will go up. Over the period of time, when the increase in the salary, but the learning will go steady, right? And then the person will get married, a lot of things happen in the life, right? So the graph will be stagnant at that time. To increase the graph, there should be a learning. If you are not helping the employee in a way of like monetary or financial benefits, you can look for how they can learn the disruptive technology which is coming into the market. The digital transformation definitely going to help the employee to retain. That's the challenge right now for the industry, right? Retaining the employee. So as I said, like, from the employee's perspective, I should have the option to move up to the ladder in the company where I can tag to a senior. I should not be staying in the same role for so long of time. Like if I'm staying in the same role, it is definitely going to be like, you might have feel the same thing. Okay, I don't have to mention there. And another one is like, when you are long-termer to the company, okay, there's a sort of benefits which the people will get. Okay, apart from these things, another thing is like the commitment from the manager and the employee. The psychological contract should be in place, right? Because that is nowhere written and it is between the people. People move away due to the manager, people stay due to the manager. So that's my take out of this.
Like, you know, what's the real, for employee to stay with your company, apart from the basic things of learning, empowering, giving a hike, maybe a knowledge management system. So I heard, you know, some organizations setting up aspiration goal settings for the people. Not just career, but understanding about the overall things which, you know, they give the environment in the organization to really, you know, feel that aspirations to be fulfilled. So that's what I'm asking. Because, you remember Sadhguru said, you know, human is not a resource. So we cannot really consider people as resource. So from a human point of view, it's not just money or the learning or promotions, that's not needed. So I'm just asking about some other things which can make you, for example, imagine one guy is getting 50,000 monthly and for the same job in a better company is getting 1 lakh. So what is the reason that they should stay with your company apart from the monetary or some other things?
Yeah.
Probably if you create that sense of belongingness with an employee, right? If you align him in the larger vision of the company, then irrespective of the, of course, compensation is important, but again, as you rightly said, what makes employees stay back is, it's not only about moving out because of money, but if he feels that as I'm getting aligned to this company's vision, right, I am part of this company's growth journey, definitely employees will stay back, right? Only when they get disconnected on the cultural aspects and then they feel there is something being offered outside, it get provoked, they get motivated to look out for a job. So probably aligning them and making them to stay back in the organization is very important.
I think the entire sense of purpose, the sense of purpose, I think the basics are important. So I don't think any of us should kind of feel that, it's kind of love and fresh air only. Like, it is the basics, the hard element about, what am I here for, how am I employable, how will I grow, how will I make an impact, all that is there. And I think what you just mentioned too, the sense of purpose, alignment to values in a certain sense are some very important things. The 3 things I've learned over a period of time is I think attack is the wrong word, but you kind of touch an employee at 3 levels, the head, the heart and the wallet. If you make your policies aligned to the person's IQ or what the person wants to do, the heart in terms of the EQ and the connect, and of course the wallet is important. You can hopefully make a plan which works to a certain extent. Yeah.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi.
So it was a great session. So the thing is, at this current situation that we have a lot of challenges and things that we need to manage. But the first thing which comes to my mind is we cannot have same kind of policies everyone right now when it comes to working style or working pattern to employees, because we have different processes, right? For a call center or BPO kind of a setup, that we cannot allow them to have flexible working. So we need to have, because in the previous discussion session also we discussed that we have to have different set of approaches. How will you motivate people if there is a need for coming to the office and there is no option for working from home? But at the same time, in the same organization, different people managing different services, they can enjoy the work from home or the flexible model or hybrid model, whatever. So how will you manage or how will you balance the approach, the different working style for different people?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I mean, it's a question, let's say, from an employee perspective. Like companies forcing people to come into work, but there are different people having different needs and different ways of working. So, in your experience, what will work if a company has to kind of, maximize that?
Yeah, I don't think if we force employees to come to office, it will work, right? There will be resistance to that. Only way of doing is nudging them, right, slowly, motivating them. Instead of making that come to office from tomorrow every day, can we give it in a phased manner? Set the expectation in advance that, okay, next 1 month or 2 months you need to be your base location, then you start coming roster-wise, something like that. That might prepare them to have that preparation to come to office. Instead of that, if you suddenly send out a mail and say from Monday you come to office, definitely it will not work. So that preparation is to be done, and planning is very much important. And as you rightly said, flexibility also should be given based on need. Especially there are certain employees who need that kind of support because of personal reasons. Definitely we need to support as an organization.
And I think the entire of getting buy-in from managers, leaders. We spoke about, Harita spoke about pulsing the employees to see what they want. Like, she said women had about 2% higher than men. I think it's entire change management process. And at the end of the day, the company, which is a future-focused organization, will not put a mandate. But I think getting people together is at the crux of it.
A lot of technology aspects that coming up,
yes,
so we
absolutely.
need to exploit. Yeah, that's right.
So I think we're out of time, but again, hopefully you got a few tips. Thanks so much for sharing your perspective as people on the ground and on the floor as well. With that, I think we can close the session.
Yes, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to request all of you to please give our panelists a big round of applause. Thank you, Rohit, for moderating that session.